Hi everybody, Nathan Ronen, CFA here with another update for Level 1 candidates. I'll be doing a similar update for Level 2 and Level 3 separately. This one is for Level 1 candidates. And the question is, Nathan, why are the pass rates at Level 1 so low? 25%, 35%, 38%, under 50%. Great question, but before I address it, I'd like to ask you to press the notifications button or the subscriptions button on your monitor so that you can continue to receive these updates if you'd like to be on top of what's going on in the world of CFA. Okay, so here's the deal. Why are the pass rates so low? Why are they under 50%? Why do they fluctuate as low as 25%, sometimes 35%, 38%, as they have been in recent years? It's a great question. And one of the factors is that there's not a silver bullet that would explain why the pass rates are so low. But I will tell you what I think is a very strong contributing factor. And that contributing factor is people's anticipation that the questions on the exam are going to be linear type questions. What do I mean by linear type questions? Directly out of the prep provider's books, the study notes, or the CFA curriculum. Questions like, which of the following is not a current asset? Or what happens to the return on equity when the growth rate goes up? It's not going to be those kind of linear type, easy questions that you can just answer if you read the books or if you read the curriculum. So what should you anticipate? Well, I think all Level 1 candidates should expect this. A few years ago, the exam was made up of 240 questions. Recently, the CFA Institute has reduced the number of questions on the Level 1 exam from 240 multiple choice questions to 180 questions, meaning a reduction of 60 questions. Why would they do that and still keep the rigorousness or the pass rates pretty much the same? Well, what they've determined is that they could start to ask questions from all the different parts of the curriculum and tie them together when you have to answer a question. In other words, they're trying to distinguish the CFA exam and the charter from everything else that's out there, from like a Series 7 exam, or a high school exam, or a college exam, or an advanced placement exam, or a GMAT exam, or an LSAT exam, or whatever the exam is. They're trying to distinguish that, even the CPA, by not asking direct, straight out of the book questions, so that a candidate says, oh, all you have to do is just read this and you'll be fine, okay? That's not the way to study for the Level 1, the Level 2, or the Level 3. You really need to see how the concepts are connected, how the different topics interrelate. And that's what they're doing on the exam with fewer questions. They're going to take material, for example, like currencies, which is discussed in the economics section, along with futures and forwards, which is discussed in the derivative section, and tie them into a question. Okay. Similarly, they could do that with concepts in corporate finance, or meaning corporate issuers, and financial statement analysis, or quant and fixed income. And that's what you should be really anticipating. But a lot of candidates are just too linear. They're looking at the weights. They're trying to game the weights on the exam, meaning that fixed income is 11 to 14%, equities 11 to 14% in 2024. So they're trying to game the exam that way, or they're trying to like memorize every little detail in the books. In fact, I just got a phone call today from a Level 1 candidate that says, you know what, I think I'm about to throw in the towel. And I said, why? They said, I'm really struggling with financial statement analysis. I got a D in financial statement analysis when I was in college. I just don't get it. Well, I said to the person, you know, I've been talking to you quite some time already. You're constantly trying to know every little detail in the books. That's your problem. There's no way that you can know every little detail on every page in the books and try to pass this exam. You're going to go crazy. Try to watch what I'm doing, see how I'm tying the concepts together, and then when you see how I'm tying the concepts together, you will see the concepts individually a lot more clear. So that's what really happens, because a lot of times people are trying to study A and B, but they don't want to see that on the exam they're going to tie A and B together. That's really important. That's what I mean by linear questions. Fill in the blanks from the books. That's not what the CFA Level 1 is all about. So if you could move away from that, I think you'll see that you end up doing much better on the exam and that you're not fretting every little detail in the curriculum. Now, admittedly, that sounds easier said than done, but that's the same thing in the real world. When you're managing a company or you're managing people, you can't micromanage. You can't expect success by looking at every little detail that every person is doing and try to manage it. You're not going to be very successful either. I think plenty of people can tell you that from experience. Same thing on the CFA exam. Make sure that you're trying to understand everything holistically and realize that with fewer questions on the exam, they're going to go deeper and they're going to ask questions that integrate concepts. And that's exactly what I tell people I do in my core curriculum recordings, and what I do in my mock exams is I tie the pieces together. That's much more difficult to do than just to do a PowerPoint presentation and regurgitate what's in the curriculum books in a shorter version and sort of create a ebook, okay? You don't need an ebook. You've got the curriculum. You've got the Bible. You've got the resources from the CFA Institute that you need to pass the exam. Now you just need somebody to bring it all together for you. And that's what you need in the world of CFA with a person like myself as a mentor. And you also need sometimes in the real world when you're working to see the forest for the trees. Those that see the forest for the trees generally succeed. They accomplish their goals, and those that get mired down in detail and try to know everything and manage everything, they generally don't see the forest for the trees and they don't succeed. They're great workers, they're great worker bees, but they're not generally fit for management, because management, again, and being at the top requires the ability to look at everything holistically. And that's the way you should be looking at this exam too. Sure, they're going to have picky questions. Sure, they're going to have a couple of ringers, dingers, things that you're not going to know. But that's not what you're studying for. You're studying so that you can pass level 1 and absorb enough information to succeed at level 2 and level 3 and eventually get the charter. And I'd like to help you do that. That's why I say, take a look at how I do it on my YouTube videos or on my website at chalkandboard.org. That's chalkandboard.org, CHALK and ANDBOARD, chalkandboard.org. And you can see how I do a little synopsis of hypothesis testing at level 1 on my website. But more to the point here, I just want to share one last thing before we go. I generally write all exam questions for my mock exams by myself, but sometimes I'll get some help from people. And I get a lot of inquiries from people, hey, Nathan, could you use any help with mocks? I'd like to write some mocks, and they would like to obviously make some money on the side, and that's fine. So what I do is before I hire their services, I ask them, could you kindly send me 6, 7, or 8 sample questions of what you think a level 1 exam question would look like? And most of the time when I get these samples from people who have experience or don't have experience in writing questions, I find that they're very linear. And I have to send it back to them. I say, this is great, good effort, but this is not what the level 1 exam is about. And I'll get questions like, right out of the book, a LIFO liquidation is, or which of the following factors does not influence the return on equity? Those are just way too linear type questions. That's not what the level 1 exam does. That's not the kind of mock exams you should be doing, and that's not the kind of preparation you should be focusing on. The prep that you use should always be to add real value, not just regurgitate data that is very linear in the books. Okay, so that's some tips and advice on why those pass rates are so low, because they're going to distinguish between those people that know and understand from those people that don't really know and sort of memorize or just expect linear questions right out of the books or out of the prep books. So that's my advice for you today. Have a great day. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. My phone number, my email is on my website, and I'm happy to help you in any which way I can to pass your level 1 exam. Cheers.